Hey everybody, Dr. Patty Fletcher here at Workhuman. Thank you so much for joining me today for You Got It, hashtag recognize this. This is the series where I get to chat with some incredible humans who are playing huge roles in building the human workplace. We all want more human workplaces, right? I think, look, we knew this before the pandemic and it really drove it home during the pandemic. That need for human connection, for connectivity. Let's face it, that's where the magic happens. That's where innovation comes through. That's where the customer delight comes from. That's where the true work experience lives. It's such a thrill to talk with these leaders. Today, this community of HR and business professionals are truly at the forefront of making business decisions that impact culture, inclusion, and more. These are the folks at the forefront of the human workplace. This is not a new topic for those of you who've known Workhuman for a while. It's not a new topic for us. And in fact, we created an event before we were called Workhuman as a company. That was called Workhuman Live. Incredible event. We brought together, unlike other kind of tech vendor events, which are all great, this one was really about how do we manifest the human workplace? What's the content? Who cares about it? What are the cool things happening out there? That event is such an experience. It's kind of like the South by Southwest of HR vendor events. But what's so cool, and having attended these events before I joined Workhuman, it's kind of like being with your people, right? And you're thinking of all the big, wonderful ideas around what human connection could be and should be, and really digging in deep. So much so that every barrier when it comes to humanity in the workplace becomes the journey and the strategy to the promised land. Pretty cool, right? It's almost like the impossible becomes possible. Of course, with the pandemic, unfortunately, we haven't been able to all get together for the last year and a half. So we have been doing our event online. We had our May event last year, Workhuman Live Online. We had our October event, and just gosh, I think in 2 weeks on May 18th, and we have our Americas online event, and on May 20th, we have our EMEA event. Last Workhuman Live Online, we had incredible speakers from our Workhuman family. So Simon Sinek, right, a good friend to Workhuman. Trevor Noah from The Daily Show joined us. We had Lisa Ling over the past year. She is one of my all-time favorite journalists, investigative journalists. And of course, we have had Claude Silva on our virtual stage. She is the Chief Heart Officer, one of my favorite titles at Vayner Media. We have had Cisco, we've had Bay State on our stage, we've had Schneider Electric sharing their stories about how human connection has not just enabled their people to survive during the pandemic, but to thrive. And of course, it all comes back to those authentic connections between people. Really, really exciting. So we're really looking forward to our events in the next few weeks. So before I get started, if you're here together with us today, drop me a line, tell me who you are, where you are joining us from. We would love to say hi. If you have any questions for our guests today or myself, go ahead and put them in the chat and we will get to all the questions that we can. And for those that we can't, we will respond to you offline. So with that, I have a very special guest with me today. She is someone who I actually got to know from the Workhuman event, Workhuman Live event, and I have been probably one of her biggest fans. I'm going to fight whoever is president of her fan club because I want to be the president. She is an absolute prophecy in the world of business. I love everything she does. She's also one of those people that in my head, I can't just call her by her first name. As I was sharing with her, in my head, she is always her first and last name. And when I say her name in my head, it brings out my inner Oprah. So those of you who are joining us, when I describe her, you will probably know who I'm talking about. She is known as the secret weapon of restoring sanity in the workplace, right? Workhuman is all about humanity. My awesome guest is all about sanity. She's incredible. She believes so much in this topic that she has dedicated her life researching and fixing the one thing people waste their time on at work. It's drama, right? Kind of like Rachel from Friends, save the drama for your mama. It gets in the way. It forces us to multitask in our brain versus focusing on the goodness that we can bring through our work. So if you haven't guessed by now, my special guest is Cy Wakeman. Cy, thank you for being here. I threatened you I'd sing your name. I couldn't help myself.
Love it. It's so good to reconnect with all of you back at Workhuman.
Yay, yay. It's so good to be reconnected with you, Cy. Thank you so much for joining me today. And before we jump in, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with our viewers a little bit about who you are, and because we just learned about your passion for the work you do, can you share with us why you're passionate about it?
Oh my gosh. Since I was probably 5 years old, I remember watching people suffer and thinking this is just got to be optional. So I'm super passionate because I know that when people believe their own thinking, they suffer. And I just want to scream from the mountaintops, like, it's not that hard. And so I want to help people free themselves up from the grips of their ego and do great work and bring their best self to work.
I love that. It's true, right? We can get in our own way. And so it's so great, right? It's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
when you
true.
said magic, it's all about like bringing humans together. That's where the magic happens. In my mind, I went magic or drama because so many people don't realize that bringing the best of themselves to work is their responsibility, their part in the magic. Because a lot of people are like, I want to bring my whole self to work. And I shock people. I'm like, please do not ever do that. Like, bring your most evolved self to work. Bring your most evolved self home. Now, I want all of those intersections that make you, all of your diversity, but all of us have an evolved self and a primal self, and one creates magic, one creates drama. So that's what I'm so excited about, and in the partnership with Workhuman.
You know, it's so what folks will realize if you don't know who Cy Wakeman is she's a truth teller. And it's absolutely true. Of course, we want to bring our whole selves to work, but it's really, what did you say? Which version of ourselves?
Your most evolved self.
Your most evolved self, right? Yeah. Right. Don't make room for that drama. Another thing I learned from you, Cy, which was absolutely hilarious, was the whole thing about, the drama of someone wanting to vent, right? They want to come to you and they want to vent. And I know I'm going off a little, off topic here, but I'll never forget you on the keynote stage saying to all of us and everyone's heads nodding, going, don't believe people, they lie. Because when they show up and say, I want to talk to you for 5 minutes, it's 5 hours. But that's what drama does, right? That's what drama does.
It does. And when we're believing our own thinking, when we don't understand as humans how our mind works and how the world works, we get played by our ego. And we argue with reality, which is an argument we'll lose like 100% of the time. And that's what we bring in, thinking that's what's helping and that's what's going to hurt. There's other things that will help.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So now let's talk a little bit about, or actually just talk about the Workhuman Live event. So again, we love having you on our keynote stage, and I know we've asked you to do something very special we've never done before. So let's just kind of dig in. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
Yay, me too. So what can folks expect from our Workhuman Live online?
So what is super cool this year is that the event itself is spread across 2 days. So there's one that welcomes people from the Americas, and one that is also set aside to welcome people from all other places in the world. And I'm so excited because we're going to have keynotes, but we're also have these education tracks and breakouts and mind-blowing people coming together. And what I love about Workhuman, we're going to hear actual success stories from clients. We're not just going to hear theory as always, we're going to hear theory plus I tried this out for myself, and here's like how it worked, which are the stories I love. So in the midst of all of that, we're also going to have something called a news desk. And so I'm going to be popping in and out. I'm going to be recapping. I'm going to be summarizing. I'll probably add my own 2 cents in to
Please
my
do.
recaps, absolutely. And I have some secret guests coming. Like I just found out. I'm so excited. Like I'm going to be interviewing Daniel Pink. So I know.
Oh my gosh. Tell him I have all of his books and I'm his biggest fan, please.
We all have all of his books.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I love it. So
it's just really this amazing event. I'm so excited. All a gift. It's free. Like all a gift from Workhuman to all of you, which I think generosity is much needed right now. I think a lot of people just need that infusion of hope. Basically, it's going to be 2 days of hope making a comeback. Like, we got this. We know how to move forward. We're going to mine this pandemic. We're going to, look at what this has revealed to us and all the other, crises that we've been through in our nation and other countries. We're going to take that and we're going to fuel post-traumatic growth. We're going to create, based on what we have experienced, better workplaces and better world places. And I'm so excited because the people that are coming in these sessions are not talking about ain't it awful and you poor things, here's what you've been through. They're talking about let the undoing begin, let the falling apart happen. We're here to build something better. And that's what I'm so excited about.
It's real, right? Like it's absolutely true. It's not a sales event. It's this event, right? It's the dream. And I love you're putting hope back on the map. Folks, look, if nothing else, you're going to get some really tweetable remarks. I mean, besides it's so awesome. You have such wisdom in how you look at things. And it's true. We need to put hope back on the map. The other thing you just said that was it just hit me to the core. It's okay that we're going through a mourning process. It's okay that things are hard. It's not about hiding them and pretending things are good. Nobody's going to believe you. But there's no way to the other side of it, right? Than to work through it and learn from each other. I love it. And, you had mentioned the cross-section of people. What does it say? Like 85 countries, 6 continents, right? We got a lot of folks. So what about the educational content tracks, which are typical, right? But I think we're doing it for the first time in online. So will you be covering those in your news desk? I think there are 5 educational.
There's 5 of them, absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to reiterate and highlight what you said, because I get lots of invitations to great conferences where it's like, and I speak at them, it's like one great speaker and then a sales job.
Yeah.
My first 3 Workhuman conferences I went to, I'm like, and what do these people do? Like, do they do gratitude bars across the nation? Like, because there's no selling. It is, let's make work better, right? Education tracks, and I'm really excited about it because I think they're really designed to what the questions that are right in front of people right now. So we're going to have great keynotes and we'll get to that. But one of them is like the next era of the human workplace. Like, what does this look like? And so many people are talking about, do we work? Can we keep working from home or do we, come back to work? And that's not even the question. The question isn't like, let's let a pandemic decide our next work model. It is, how do we come together for intentional conversations about what will serve our clients and patients and customers while creating the experience we want for the humans delivering all those services. So it isn't just this, it's not going to be that old conversation, do we work from home or do we come, bring everybody back and is it safe? It's bigger than that. So I'm looking forward to the next era of the human workplace. And then there are so many of us who are suffering because our pay and performance system is like from the 1950s. It's so legalistic. And I don't care if you're the one giving it or the one receiving it. It's chronically disappointing. Like everyone from David Rock to like, everybody's like, please don't make us do this. Some people are so frustrated. They're like, we're not gonna have any performance system. And they're throwing things out. And it's like, so what I love about it is like this agile workplace we're trying to create, and in the new way that we work together, how do we measure performance? How do we reward what we want more of and less of what we want, people not to bring to the table? So I'm really excited about that piece. And of course, like, we have got to be talking about diversity, inclusion,
Oh God,
and
yeah.
equity, and but I think a lot of us, we've heard the kind of the sanctioned statements about that. But what I love about people at Workhuman is they take us from, like, thanks for being an ally with like a little action. Like, hey, thanks for, pushing the like button on my quote on Instagram, but here's what would really help. And so what I love is that Workhuman's willing to have some of the tough conversations and bring you just some mind-blowing voices in that area. So that's 3. There's also the culture of employee well-being. I think it's been revealed to us, no matter how many programs we have. I know in my work, this pandemic and a lot of the social unrest has revealed to people the health of their own brain and how equipped they were. Did they know how their mind works? And did they know how to deal with their own anxiety? And so there's a whole track on employee well-being, which is bigger than, although I love yoga and meditation, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than having, different types of beverages in your cool breakout room. And then, of course, it wouldn't be Workhuman if we weren't talking about recognition. Hashtag recognize this, love, approval, appreciation.
Yes.
And so I love the puppies here.
Yeah,
she is. What I love about all of our live stuff is that we've realized people have real lives as cats crawl over their head and kids come unclothed through the background. But I mean, it wouldn't be Workhuman if we weren't talking about appreciation that goes beyond just, hey, thanks. It goes deeper. It goes into gratitude, and it goes into holding space and being present and acknowledging, the experience and the resilience of people and what the hard things they've been able to do in challenging times. So
it's amazing. Yeah, I love that you call those out. And it's interesting. You started off with performance management and ended with recognition. And I'm wondering if you're seeing this too, Sai. It's what has been interesting is the pandemic has forced folks who were doing a traditional performance review as a checkbox activity, right? And then we're seeing a lot of companies during the pandemic going, this does not make any sense at all. And so they've stopped it. And then you ended with recognition. And I'm wondering if you're seeing what we've been seeing, which is those things really go hand in hand. It's that continuous connection, that continuous input, feedback, because like you said, I'm not sure if performance management is actually influencing performance. It's certainly not influencing experience or health and well-being. Are you seeing that kind of trend as well? Those things coming together?
And we've been seeing this for a long time, but I think, the last year, if people weren't clear on what we've been saying, they're like, oh, I get it. Typical performance management is after the fact, and it's batch processing, which is emotionally overwhelming for people. And it's not in the moment, and it's so confrontational, because I talk to people all the time. If you can't keep something conversational in the moment, just in time, balanced and taking into respects like that whole person, it's going to be confrontational. And so how do we teach people? You can't have a real relationship, if you can't have conversations in the moment about both appreciation and performance. If you're a leader and you're talking to your people once a quarter about their performance, you don't have a relationship. No. Like, can you imagine, like, honey, it's our quarterly meeting. I want to talk. The worst words we ever hear in a marriage, right, is, honey, I want to talk about our relationship. Yeah. You're like, holy heck.
Talk about drama and me running under a desk. Yeah.
They're so connected, because if we can look, at feed forward and appropriate feedback. But the one thing that people over-rotate on, they're like, well, I love the appreciation part. I want to do that. But your appreciation's not believable if your feedback isn't true and relevant. I'll never forget as I was out shopping, this is such a bad example. We don't even do this anymore. Back in the olden days, we used to go to these things called stores, and you would like get outfits. You'd bring a friend, you'd try them on, you'd get their opinion. And I went with one friend, and she's like, everything I put on, she's like, amazing, fabulous. She was complimenting me, but I couldn't trust her because I couldn't trust that she would tell me it was a bad outfit, because I've been in this body for 55 years. It is statistically impossible if you look at the data. And by the way, there's a bunch of good analytic stuff in the program too. If you look at the data, it's statistically impossible that everything I try on looks fine. No, I haven't. The person I love to shop with is the person that is like, oh no, no. And then when we get to the one, oh yeah, now I have the trust because it's a spectrum. I'm going to appreciate you a lot and course correct you as needed or provide suggestions and appreciate you as you try to emphasize and try and do it differently. That's the trusted leader, that you care about me and you're committed to excellence. And I just remember, like, if they said yes, I would buy like that pair of pants in 5 colors.
Yes.
And that is the building relationship. It's not about building trust that I never disappoint you. It's about building trust that we can do hard things and talk through and
work. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's powerful. You're absolutely right. Trust is not about agreeing, right? Give me a break. We're humans. Yeah. And the thing is, what you just talked about, you did not allow drama in at all. I mean, just at all. Amazing. So Melissa is, I think it's Chanjo. So Sai, I'm going to ask you to go back just a little bit. She asked, can you elaborate on your post-pandemic definition of work model? Comment, great stuff. I want to quote it. I told you have tweetable comments, Sai Wakeman.
I love it. I love it. This is, my staff will be laughing because they know this is the worst question ever to ask Sai. Repeat what you just said. We'll talk a little bit about concepts, right? So my worry about there is all this talk about what's the right answer. If we don't let people stay at home, they'll like leave us. There's a war on talent. If, we should require them to come back to work, and people are like, well, is that the best use of our time? We can't let a pandemic, a major disruption, decide our future best work structure. That's not seen, right? And so when people are like, well, I want to stay home, I'm like, well, so you don't want to ever go into the office again? No. And I'm like, well, when's your last office experience? They're like, 1.5 years ago. I go, so now you're making decisions based on 1.5 years old memory. And by the way, if we all stay home, we will become feral cats. There is a shaping that happens when you have to go out in public and be nice to people, that there's feedback that comes to you, not from your boss. It comes to you from the world. The world will evolve you while you're trying to impact the world. And part of what I'm teaching a lot is allow yourself to be evolved by what's happening, which is what Adam Grant, one of the keynotes, will talk about, the power of learning what you don't know, or knowing what you don't know, like the unlearning piece. And so what I ask people to do is, let's stop talking about anything in polarity, this or that. Let's transcend. If we're going to build better workplaces, just like our spiritual masters would tell us, we've got to transcend. It's not what camp are you in or what side are you on. There's only one camp. It includes all of us. And we've got to figure out, it's not about what to do. It's how to build an intentional container big enough to intentionally match the place of work and the way we handle work with the best benefit for employees and for clients. So what I'd like people to do is, let's all come back together, at least for a moment, so that we can get conscious and intentional. Let's have intentional, conscious, visible discussions about what we've learned, what's been revealed to us about ourselves and others, what we're trying to create in the world, and what our goals and strategy are, and then consciously choose. Do not let this pandemic choose for you where the best place to work is. Consciously choose what brings us energy, what depletes energy, what are things we need to come together on, and what are some things we don't. And we're working on that in my organization. And it's not about work from home or the office. We're kind of a work from anywhere. we're giving up our offices, but that team will be together. We're meeting together in cool places. But instead of having an office for a year, it's like we'll still spend a week together in some cool location once a month or wherever it might be. But that's my fear is we need to be conscious and intentional. And any discussion that is exhausting you, you need to just stop the conversation and start
Ooh.
conversation. So many people, when it comes to diversity and inclusion, like the conversation is exhausting people because we need to start a new conversation. If you're in a relationship, as a marriage counselor, if you've been talking about something for 10 years, don't even try to resolve it. Just stop the conversation and intentionally begin a new conversation. And I think that's a big theme going forward is in HR, we're so good at getting into polarity on a spectrum, what's right, what's wrong, what are other people doing? That's not where we need to be to create workplaces that actually can build a container big enough for humans.
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to be your live desk right now, Cy Wakeman. So a few things that are really just incredible that I'm listening to about, we are the conference, you are the person. When we're talking about the human workplace, it is about having uncomfortable and difficult conversations, right? And because we're talking about humans. And what you just laid out on how to do that, to get ourselves out of the way, get the drama out of the way, is your focus on the content and context, not on the people, because this happens, right? And so then to your point, and I love what you just said, which was change the darn conversation if it's depleting you versus fuel you. And it just brought me to your comments about health and well-being. That's exactly what you're talking about. You got to do it for yourself so you can make room in your relationships. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And then the final thing was with your talk about, look, we had an office, double thumbs up. And now we don't, and we're going to get together in great places. And it just really reminded me of design thinking. There's this exercise that when I lead a workshop with a design thinking approach, I do a pretty simple exercise where you put a bunch of people are sitting at tables. There's a bunch of office supplies in the middle, and each person designs their own chair, right? Someone draws a chair, someone uses the paper clips, whatever. And then they sit around their table and they share their chair designs with each other. And then they come together as a team. They create a chair and they share it with the rest of the room. And what we find out through that process is it was never about the chair. It was about, right? It was about having a comfortable place to sit on a Sunday, or I'm going to go watch my kid do soccer and I can't stand sitting on the bleachers without a back. What you just talked about was it was never about working from an office or working from home. Wrong conversation. Oh my God, this is amazing. So we have a few folks I want to say hi to, and then I got one last question for you, Cy. So
okay.
Awesome. Sarah, hi, Sarah. Absolutely agree with you, Janora. You can tell I want to keep Cy Wakeman, Cy Wakeman on with me for the next 14, 15 hours. And Jill Kazanjian, I will fight you to be Cy's shopping partner. Laura, thank you for stopping by. Selena, absolutely agree. Just so great. I think Sarah Payne, you had a question that I cannot see.
I can see it. I can see it. I hope that's my Sarah Payne. What's the number one thing you learned about yourself during the pandemic? So good news is I've learned a lot, and I wrote a book on it, and it's coming out next spring called Life's Messy, Live Happy. Life doesn't have to be perfect for you to be content. But what I learned, it has to do with conversation and questions. I learned that most of the time, if we aren't getting answers that speak to our heart that are clear, we're asking the wrong questions. And I knew this back in my days in the master's program. They wanted me to perfect the question. I wanted to move on to my research. And they kept saying, if you get the question right, your research will fall in place. So many people come to me with questions. Should I stay? Should I go? Whether it's a job or a relationship and that should in there puts you externally focused. What will people think and what's the right thing to do? Gets you into your conditioning, like what would a good girl do? And it gets you so situational because you're like, this week I like my job, so I guess I should stay. And you're always in the state of ambivalence. It's a horrible way to live because you're not committed. And so a better question is, am I fulfilled? Am I personally fulfilled? And If not, what's my soul craving right now? Go internal. What's my soul craving? And where's that gap? Do I have that in this job or in this relationship, right? And that doesn't mean you leave yet. You just get clear on what you need to be liberated, to be free, to be able to fully show up in the job you have or the place you have. And it's not money and it's not responsibility. That's not a soul's craving. No one's like, I crave to be a manager. Stop asking for promotions. We crave meaningful work. Daniel Pink will talk to us when I interview him. And then get clean and ask the person that has most influence in your situation for what you need. And then they will give you the answer. And then quit ignoring the answer. If they say, I'm not going to give you that, then if your soul desires that, go out and get it. But don't stay and outsource your happiness because somebody won't give you what you desire, what you crave. That's your job. So it's all about helping people end conversations we've been having, start new conversations. That's my whole career, is trying to help people see reality more clearly so that they can have better discussions. So
I love it. And I love the title of your book, Life's Messy, Live Happy. You can't control the mess, right? You can't. And you can lay a foundation. Yeah. And it really does go back to what we learned in kindergarten, right? Like what you could control. But also, I love your whole thing around, I'm a big believer in the scientific method. It just makes it easier for me to, to focus. And you and I are research scientists, so we naturally go there. But laying it out, so that's one thing, but you're asking yourself different questions. I wrote them down. I'm going to start. It's huge. So
that's one chapter in the book of what I'll be sharing with you guys. I'm going back to like personal stuff. So.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And it looks like you are going to sell out the minute it hits the shelves or before. So awesome job. Get in line, people. I'm serious. Sai, thank you. As you depart us, you talked about some of the sessions that are going to be there. Is there a particular session you haven't mentioned yet that you're personally looking forward to?
Well, I always, love hearing Eric talk, and he's going to be doing some stuff. The one that I'm really excited, and I even wrote it down, and it has to do with the importance of sustainability in driving cultural change, because I think we're so into programs and initiatives, and sustainability is a big word for me right now, and not just for our planet, but so many things are what leaders need to do. And we need to find ways that we share accountability for our common experience, because that's the only way it's going to be sustainable. So
absolutely. It's so true. So Sai, thank you. I can't wait to watch you on the live stage. And again, so the live desk, excuse me. So Sai is going to be there really giving us her commentary, telling us what's coming up. She already shared one of her special guests will be Daniel Pink. She'll be joined by other leaders, speakers who will be speaking at Workhuman. So Sai, thank you for all you do in helping the world build more humanity into the workplace. You are incredible. I'm so excited. And thank you, everybody. This has been such incredible engagement, right? Like Sai Wakeman really gets you pumped up about the right things. And you do enable all of us to believe change is possible. And I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful. And folks, join me on May 12th for my next episode of Recognize This. It's going to be with a good friend of both Sai's and mine, Torrin Ellis. He is going to be speaking at Workhuman Live Online about allyship. So he's going to share a bit about that session with us. Until then, thank you, Sai. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a great day.
Awesome.